Yes, we're live. Hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am Dr. Swati Mishra, your host for the day. I take care of the patient support initiatives and health content at Tata1mg, and I work very closely with our technology team to improve and improvise our healthcare management services and programs for all our users. Today, in line with our mission to make healthcare understandable, accessible, and affordable, we have launched Healthcast, a brand new initiative of ours. Healthcast aims to promote healthy living through curated expert guidance. A few weeks ago, we hosted our first episode on diabetes, and today we are here with our episode 2 on something that all of us would have experienced at some point in our lives. Yeah, we are talking about stress. Today we are here with a highly experienced and esteemed panel of experts. And before diving into their insights and experiences, let me just quickly introduce each of our experts right here. Just to start off, I'll go with Dr. Sameer Kalani. With a rich experience of more than 12 years to his credit, Dr. Sameer Kalani is a consultant psychiatrist in the Department of Mental Health and Behavioral Sciences at Fortis Memorial Research Institute. He has been associated with prestigious organizations in the past and active in community psychiatry and outreach promotion and awareness programs. He has been leading the field of neurosciences in some of the advanced treatment modalities, currently being very sporadically used in only few centers of India. To come to Dr. Neerja Agarwal, she has pursued her PhD in psychology and a senior rehabilitation psychologist, having extensive work experience of more than 15 years across mental health issues like anxiety, depression, personality issues, adolescent psychology. Her expertise lies in tackling adolescent issues through positive psychology. She has also designed a course on emotion regulation for adolescents. In her present role, she is leading as a co-founder and CEO at EmoNeeds. EmoNeeds is India's one of the leading digital wellness health experts. She brings with her extensive experience to help EmoNeeds aims to provide affordable quality mental health care to all Indians from the comfort of their homes. Next up, I am quite thrilled to introduce Rahul Gautam. Rahul is a highly experienced meditation expert with a wealth of knowledge and experience. In parallel to his deep capabilities in meditation and mindfulness practices, he is currently heading the HR Transformation Office at Air India. He has also been a renowned leadership coach and has coached over 100 CXOs, being in leading different global companies at CXO roles. Rahul has spent decades practicing various meditation techniques and has developed his own unique approach that has helped countless individuals find greater harmony and balance in their lives. Next up, I'm very excited to introduce you Priyanka Mittal. Priyanka is currently pursuing her PhD from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. She's a clinical psychologist, a child psychologist, and a psychotherapist. She brings in more than 11 years of experience in psychotherapy, and she believes in seeing psychotherapy as a collaborative process with a narrative therapy, person-centered therapy, and social justice-based approach. Next up, we have Dr. Lalit Kanodia. With an extensive healthcare experience and a domain expertise of more than 14 years of experience in management, consulting, digital health, clinical operation, pharmacovigilance, medical affairs, regulatory framework, and quality standard, Dr. Lalit has helped multiple health tech companies organize and innovate in the health tech space. He is value-driven with high inclination towards strategy, growth, innovation in the health tech space. Thank you so much for joining us here. And thank you everyone for joining us in this talk show. We are soon going to begin. Just to start off, today here we have collated all of the questions that we have received from you. And apart from that, even in between, we'll be taking up questions. So please do not hesitate to put up your questions, whatever you are curious about. With this, I would just like to start off without any further ado. Okay, so here I have some stats. I just want to start on that note. There was a recent India Fit report published for 2022 and 2023, which says about 36% of Indians are suffering from declining mental health, out of which 24% of Indians are struggling with chronic stress. So if we just translate the numbers to the huge Indian population, it's a huge burden on the population. And this is a very recently conducted survey. And here we have a lot of questions around chronic stress, apart from that, even in general mental health. So Dr. Sameer, I would just want to start off with very basic thing. I know all of us have been speaking a lot about mental health. But just to start off on that positive note and to make sure that each one in our audience understand the importance of it, what does keeping mentally health actually imply in our day-to-day lives?
For mental health, I think the first step would be to understand the definition of it being emotional, social and psychological well-being. Initially, like the times are changing, initially it was thought that mental health is the absence of a mental illness. But thankfully, research and with experience, things have changed. WHO is evolved and understand that the definition is now dynamic. How it's dynamic is that it's actually an individual achieving his or her own capabilities, realizing them, translating them into their own processes, coping mechanisms, developing their own productivity, whether it be their social, personal or at and workplace, and then contributing to the community. So this actually is in essence the mental health of an individual and of the community in large. But since mental health goes very closely associated with the environment, so there comes in stress. And stress is an emotional or a psychological response that you have to a perceived situation, where you perceive the situation as stressful. For an individual, a situation may be more stressful, and for a different person, that same situation may be perceived as less stressful. So it changes, it's very dynamic.
I think you've already briefly touched upon what is stress, but there's another question in front of us. What are some most common causes of stress that can disrupt daily life?
So, like I said about perception of stress, so any event that may lead to a psychological response. For example, this can be a severe one in terms of a loss of a job, loss of a partner, relationship, grieving, loss of a pet. It could be as mundane as moving in front of an interviewer, trying to talk to people on a talk show. So stress has a lot of. So this has been very classically described as perceived stress. So these are the varieties, and any situation. So if a client comes to me and talks about how their life has been stressful, we are no one to actually judge. And we rely on our clients to give us a perception of their understanding of the situation as whether it has been stressful or not.
And I'm just going back to one of our previous conversation that it's normal to experience stress in our day-to-day lives, but it is mostly how we perceive and how we respond to it is what decides the outcomes.
So let me add to that. So today in our talk show with most of our colleagues here, we are going to be talking mostly about the normalcy of stress and how stress is a relevant part of our lives and how we are anyway going to have to deal with it. And so it is definitely a physiological response. Today we are not talking about pathology, today we are not talking about illnesses, we are not talking about depression, anxiety, we are not going into that domain.
With this, there is one common question which mostly many people ask. What does acute and chronic stress mean? How do they differentiate from each other?
This is very relevant in terms of trying to classify our own responses. So, for example, there is a sudden build-up of a situation, there is an accident that I viewed in front of my eyes and I saw a very difficult situation. So, there is an immediate response in the body, which is we understand as a flight and fight response. So, there is perspiration, you start sweating, there are tremors in the body, your heartbeat races up, your oxygen flow moves. So the body is preparing yourself to deal with this acute stress. Why is it called acute? Because the response of the body settles down very fast. Whereas when we say chronic, a stressful situation in which you are thriving, whether it be a difficult atmosphere at your workplace or your personal life, or trying to make ends meet. COVID was tough for most of the crowd. They were out of their comfort zones, and so that was a chronic stress. So it continued on a day-to-day basis. Body tried to deal with it, but could not come back to the resting state. So this is what chronic stress means.
Can I just?
Yeah, sure.
So when we talk about chronic stress and we talk about the physiology, so how is it different the physiological response and a pathological response when you say the chronic stress?
So for an acute stress, whatever you experience is going to subside in a few seconds to minutes to maximum an hour. So suddenly the body comes back to the resting state. So it doesn't involve the body, the brain does not involve major hormones.
Right.
It's a basic release of adrenaline. But when chronic stress happens every day, let's suppose there is a stressful situation which is maintaining, there are periods or let's say few hours of rest in between, but then the situation again comes back to stress. So what happens? The body starts releasing hormones like cortisol. Cortisol levels go up. Trying to deal with it, oxytocin starts getting consuming more. So the oxytocin levels go low. Like for example, in an acute stress, you may not have a disturbed sleep for more than 2 to 3 days. You are in an acute stress situation, tonight you didn't sleep, maybe tomorrow you're not able to sleep. Day after your body catches up and it's done. Chronic stress, let's say for example, you've not slept for 2 weeks. So think of the sleep deprivation, think of the effects that are going to happen on the body. This will still come within the gambit of a physiological response. This is still not pathological. If you deal with it effectively, even with chronic stress, let's say a few months of stress going on, but cognitively using resources around you, emotional, psychological resources around you, physical resources around you, you try to deal with it, you will be able to de-stress. Revert back to the usual state.
I think the important underline for this is if you deal with it effectively. And I think we will have more enlightenment upon that because this is a precursor of the pathology which is coming across. Thanks.
In fact, very interestingly, we were just speaking to a few of our registrants who mentioned that while they see that is imperative to visit a mental health expert for chronic issues like depression, anxiety, personality issues, they don't feel that they need to see an expert for stress. So how commonly do you see people coming to your practice for stress-related issues?
So this is interesting because this is more personal experience I'll share. So let's say 2007, 2023, let's say 15 years in this field now. If I divide it into 5 years, the initial 5 years we would see clients only with serious mental health issues, which would be either coming to us directly or referred to other practitioners. In the next 5 years, before pre-COVID, we started seeing that in societies there was a lot of talk about mental health, and suddenly we started seeing some clients, especially the young population, who was reading about it online and more aware and less stigmatized. They started approaching it, but with still mental health issues like depression and anxiety disorders, and they were not able to manage. Interestingly, around COVID and till now, in the last 5 years, if I say 18 to 23, I am seeing clients walking in directly and not trying to differentiate between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, thinking of us as mental health professionals and trying to come to us and say that, do I have depression? That's an interesting question because they are perceiving stress and they've read about it online and they are getting confused because there is so much data and they feel, has it reached a pathology level or not? So I get clients now who are walking in and I'm happy to say that I'm sending them a lot in different directions without prescribing a medicine. So that practice is evolving now.
Dr. Nija, would you want to add to what Dr. Sameer just highlighted?
Yeah, Dr. Sameer has rightly said that now the younger generation is becoming more aware. They are coming to us with a lot of questions. Okay, am I feeling depressed? Am I feeling anxious? क्या मुझे DA है? या मुझे what do you think? मुझे OCD हो गया है? क्या करना चाहिए मुझे? So even regarding the small relationship breakup, they are coming and approaching us. Okay, I'm feeling depressed because of relationship breakup. So imagine a 12-year-old child is coming to us for relationship breakup. They are thinking that it is mandatory to take therapeutic help for relationship breakup. So they are coming. Now they are becoming very aware of it.
Another interesting thing which I could pick is the word client then patient, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the patient per se. We are talking about a physiological response. We are talking about a normal human being here.
Exactly. I mean, that's something which we have also, like the medical fraternity has also evolved with. In fact, Priyanka was also mentioning that it is a person-centered therapy, and Rahul was also adding that it's a human-first therapy. So it's going to be you as a human, not you as a patient. With this, I think this is something which is mostly known to people, but we would really want to stress upon this question. How does stress impact all the important spheres of life? Mental health, emotional well-being. Does it also impact performance at work and physical health like weight gain, weight loss, or hormonal health issues?
So stress, it evokes a physiological response. So in our physiology, if we go from head to toe, the first and foremost organ involved will be the brain. And when the stress continues, or let's say there are episodes of acute stress, or if there is a sustained chronic stress, the first thing that is clearly affected is the attention and concentration. You start getting distracted quite often. And often people come to us and they say that we are forgetting names, we are forgetting mundane things. So probably it's a memory issue. But it's not really a memory issue, it's more of attention concentration. Then there are issues in terms of irritability, changing the behavior. You start reacting more, you start being very sensitive about things around you. You start picking up things, picking up words, phrases, sentences. If somebody is talking to you, you are suddenly stuck on a word, then you say, you said this to me, and then for days together you keep thinking about it. Where the other person is totally forgotten about the event. And when you bring it up, the other person is surprised that why you're still catching on to that. So these are precursors to depression and anxiety. So in this situation where there is buildup of behavioral change, emotional change, feeling of sadness, sleep disturbance I talked about, and one of the major components is appetite disturbance. In stress, people talk about stress eating. It's a common term now. So you crave for carbs, carbohydrates, you consume calories without having a sense of satiety. You don't feel the fullness. After having a meal also you would like to have an ice cream. Maybe if you were used to having the one scoop, you would probably have 3 scoops now. You start withdrawing from the environment, so you compound it by doing a sedentary lifestyle. You don't want to exercise, you don't have the energy, you feel fatigued quite often. So then it leads to weight gain or at times extreme weight loss. So that's another thing. Then people may have underlying ailments altogether. Let's say they may have something like, for example, asthma. They already have a propensity for a heart problem, blood pressure, diabetes. So when the stress builds up, all of these body responses like cortisol, if it goes up, suddenly your sugar management goes down. Your medicines that you are taking, body stops responding to them effectively. And then these illnesses build up. One of the most classical when looking at the body, so brain, then heart. Client comes to us with palpitations, and ultimately it's mostly stress. They even go to the extent of doing ECGs, echo, and some people also do angiography. And then they find angiography, everything's fine, but my heartbeat is not stopping. There's a lot of anxiety. Then there is a classical and the most common ailment, which is very easily treatable but very difficult to diagnose, is irritable bowel syndrome. We have huge number of clients going to the gastroenterologist, and the gastroenterologist then diverting them to us, saying, I see nearly like 3 to 4 clients. If I'm seeing 10 clients with anxiety, at least 3 to 4 have IBS symptoms. So it is probably not irritable bowel syndrome. I think it's more irritable brain syndrome. Bowel gets affected. So, and Indians and South Asians, we all run on stomach. So bowel is a serious problem. So these are all stress related ailments, and they actually cause problems.
These are like actually, because I also remember of someone in my connection, 27, 28-year-old. She has been just running for diagnosis of gut related issues, and she was very recently diagnosed with IBS. But she was, for the longest time, she was being seen and consulting a gastroenterologist, and finally it came up.
Think about this. What will the gastro do for the gut? They add sedatives. They try and sedate the gut. And what does the gut need? It's hyperstimulated. Doesn't need stress, doesn't need sedation, but needs further activation. This is a very paradoxical thing. So we add serotonin. When we add serotonin, it further activates the gut to make it stronger, to become relaxed. So interestingly, you may have paradoxical responses to stress. So there should not be any symptomatic treatment in any stressful situation. Otherwise, it's not going to resolve.
So I would like to add into this, as they say, 90% of our serotonin level is produced in our gut area. Now, the science also believes that almost a cat size of brain, like we have thousands of neurons in our gut area, in our heart area, and head area, of course. So this is the reason why we feel irritable bowel syndrome when we get irritated, when we get stressed. So if you eat a very nutritious meal, if your gut area is taken care of, then you can take care of your stress level also. So this is the reason why we feel irritable bowel syndrome while we are stressed, because our gut area is getting affected, because we have a sensitive brain in our gut area also. Ayurveda always says that every disease starts from your gut.
In fact, interestingly, we also floated a survey to all our users, and stress, mental health awareness issues, and gut health were the two most voted ones. So, and hence we came up with a talk show on stress. So, I'm sure the two things are so closely correlated, and that is what people are also
I
experiencing.
think we should also explore the commonalities.
Yeah.
Gut and stress, then
Yes.
makes sense. Yeah.
Because we normally don't talk about it, about our gut health, what we are eating, how we are eating, we are not mindful of that. Like in stress, as Dr. Zagar said, that we binge eating starts. We like to have very carbohydrated foods, Coca-Cola, pizzas. We like to binge on them just to feel us satisfied. And then suddenly that guilt also arises, that purging arises. Nowadays, youngsters are feeling a lot of eating disorders are happening. So if we take care of a gut area, if we eat mindfully and take balanced diet, then take care of stress also.
Thank you so much for that.
A little louder, because I think we're hearing that voice really properly.
Okay. In fact, there was one question. Can my stress be the cause of emergence or worsening of IBD or IBS? So I think we have already taken that up. With that, I'll just quickly move to another thing to you, Dr. Neja, because we are almost talking on the similar lines. Are there any specific warning signs to look for that my stress is leading to something more serious?
Yes, if you are feeling I would like to add that stress is a very defensive thing. If you don't feel stressed, you don't prepare for the thing. So, but it's get problematic when you are getting stressed on over little things. When you are continuously stressed, even the stressor is gone, then it becomes chronic. And when it becomes generalized, like you are getting stressed over any uncertainty, whatever is happening in your life. If your flight got delayed, if your flight got cancelled, and you're getting stressed. If you're getting stressed on every minor issues, then it means it is getting out of our hand. And when you're seeking a lot of reassurance again and again, double checking the things, when you want to assure everything before, when you want to assure that everything should end well, and you can never be assured of anything. Life is so uncertain, then I'm sure it is getting out of your hand. And in our clinical terms, so if you're getting stressed for over 2 weeks, like chronically, then you should take help. You should come. You should take a therapeutic help.
In fact, I think we have a very specific question on how do people with chronic stress behave. I'm going to skip this one because I think Dr. Sameer has already touched upon this. And what you also briefly spoken about, there's a very interesting question, and I think very pertinent to adolescents and even young adults and even elderly as such. Can relationship stress make you sick? What to do if a relationship is stressing you out?
Yes, relationship stress can make you very stressed, can make you sick in the sense you would start binge eating disorder starts, then you would like to control each and everything. You would like to get anxious about every uncertainty. Your self-esteem issues starts. You would not socially withdrawn हो जाते हैं हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा. You would start doubting over your things again and again. You'll start doubting yourself. So stress can really, relationship stress can really add into your life if you do not take care of your relationship very well. So you should be very, you should pay attention to your relationship. First of all, I would like to say that paying attention is the must. See, you should pay attention to what the other person needs. How is your relationship going on? How is the process between you? What do you want in this relationship? What needs you? What needs your attention the most? Are you feeling hurt, or are you feeling what do you want to change in your relationship? Do you want to change the critical comment? Do you want to change intrusive questions? Do you want to change the criticism? What is happening in your what is happening? What is the how is the process going on? And then you should ask, what do you want? Ask them specifically. You should ask in a very clear, direct questions, non-attacking, non-threatening questions. You should ask a specific behavior change. And also you should negotiate, and you should be willing to compromise what you can give so that you can get what you want. And also you should be willing to give what you can give to other person. So you should be very assertive, but getting information is very essential. If you're not being mindful of the process between two of you, like where is your relationship going on, sometimes we do not get information. We start freaking out. Even in the slightest hint, we start freaking out. Nowadays, we are seeing a lot of anxious attachment in young generations. They start freaking out. Oh, what if he's going to leave me? Oh, what if his ex is more beautiful than me? Oh, he is not paying attention to me. Oh, he's not picking up the phone. So before freaking out, you should ask actually if something you see your relationship is going, if something is ambiguous, you should directly ask what is happening, how are you doing in this relationship before freaking out. Most of the time, it is our fear or our own projections of anticipations or our fears that comes in our way. Most of the time we assume. We do not ask, we assume the things. And sometimes we are afraid of asking too much. What do they think about us? What will they think about us? And sometimes before asking the questions, we sometimes feel that, no, we will appear very prying. So you should ask, directly ask if something is freaking you out, and then you should be assertive. You should be very assertive. You should maintain your boundaries. What will you do and what will you not do in this relationship? And maintaining boundaries with your loved one is very difficult. So it is very difficult. You cannot draw a line at what we can do in this relationship and what we cannot do in this relationship. So for this, I would suggest you should be mindful that where your resentment start building up. So where your resentment start building up in that relationship. If you are on the giving end, then naturally that relationship will become a joyless burden. Soon your relationship will become a joyless burden. So before it becomes a joyless burden, you should ask. And you should ask in a very clear manner, and you should ask very specific changes. So for me, these are the things: knowing what you want, ask what you want in a very clear, specific manner, in a non-attacking manner, because nobody would like to be pushed away or cornered or bullied upon. So you should ask in a very gentle manner. And you should really be inquisitive about other person's need also. What does, the other person also needs, and you should validate those needs by maintaining your own boundaries, what you can do and what you cannot.
Very beautifully explained, and this is pertinent to most of us in here and even the audiences. With this, I have another very important question, and which is, how serious is stress in the workplace? I feel it is common with everyone out there, but should I do something about it?
Yeah, it is very common getting stressed in the workplace, getting overworked, if your boss is too demanding, if you're working over hours, so if you're not getting me time, if your family is being compromised, if your family time is being compromised, then you start stressing out in your workplace. So for this thing, I will again say that be little more assertive, and you should also keep a check whether you are in a balancing state or not. What is the division between office work time, family time, and the me time? You should also take your me time also. For me personally, for morning 2 hours is the me time. So that I would not like to compromise with anything. So if you take your me time, you kind of prepare for the day, prepare for the challenges, to take the challenges of the day. So there should be balance between while working you will forget your meals. So there should be again balance that your meal time should be proper so that you can work for longer hours.
In fact, I would take this message with me today that we always try to maintain work-life balance, but work-life and self-balance is also something that we should start looking upon. With this, I'll quickly come to you, Rahul, because we all know that you have a rich experience in training people at CXO levels, and I'm sure they'll be experiencing hefty stress. So, what do you think are some very quick mantras, and we'll come back to you for more detailed mindfulness practices, but some quick mantras for maintaining your health and happiness while being productive at work?
So I've worked with a large number of CXOs in my career, and one of the things that I've seen is most of them, they don't have their blood test normal. And I think now the awareness has gone up. So everybody is feeling the need for getting back on track. So, and what I'm really talking is really practical stuff that I've seen. So there are a lot of F's which are required to make things happen, for that health and happiness to happen. So first F is fitness. Okay. And I'm seeing, and I'm really talking about good CEOs, CXOs, good people in corporate who do take out time on a Saturday and Sunday and then hitting the gym, or they have a yoga instructor if they don't have the discipline of doing it themselves, or they have swimming as a hobby, and those kind of stuff. So fitness is really, really, really important. And in fact, I have seen that the CEOs who are actually able to work much longer are people who are absolutely fit. In fact, Tata's chairman is Chandrasekhar, and he himself is a marathon runner. Okay, and he's perhaps doing one of the most complex jobs in the country. The second F is, and order of priority, is family and friends. We need to spend time. This whole thing of getting one-dimensional in life and just thinking about only work, you put all your eggs in one basket and then your boss says something and you go flat completely. So you need to have dedicated time going for your family and friends, travel with them, spend some time, spend the weekends with them. That's extremely, extremely important. The third F is finances. Okay, and we have to get our finances right. I see that this generation is far more aware about finances. Probably in our generation it was not there, but I would encourage everybody to understand, what's the impact of finance, because that's also a stressor. You feel once you don't have a job, you suddenly realize that, I'm missing something. So you need to get that piece sorted in life and in a very planned way, sort it out. The fourth F is fullness. I think it's very important to also live a more fuller life, live a more integrated life, not a one-dimensional life, which I've been talking about. So fullness comes if one has learned the art of yoga, meditation, it comes very naturally to you. In fact, every country in this world has something great to give to this planet. You look at Americans, they're the best in sales and marketing. They will sell you the moon. You look at Germans, you look at Swiss, they are best in engineering. The best of the engineering products are German or Swiss. You look at teamwork, comes from Japan. You look at quality, coming from Japan. Meditation, yoga comes from India. This is the heart. This country actually gave it to the world. So I think this is the time when you kind of get back to that root. So these are the 3 or 4 F's which really become important. And the fifth one, which I feel is very important, is fun. We need to have some fun. You know, we stopped smiling. In corporate, I was seeing 10 years back, if you would keep a straight face, you were seen to be more serious about your work. Nowadays, you know, they want to go away from that person. And generally, if you see, Harvard did a research, very interesting research, and they found out that generally a child smiles 400 times a day, right? Okay, a youth smiles 14 times a day. And once you are, you know, into your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you stop smiling. Okay, so there's something that's gone wrong, right? And today I am doing a role which is a very complex role, transformation in a very complex kind of a setup. But when you have these practices with you and you have a good way of living life, then you are able to, you know, really balance it out beautifully. And they are never at loggerheads. We think these are at loggerheads. It is work-life integration. In fact, balance word doesn't say, because sometimes it will tilt towards work. And then when you got too much like a cycle, you feel cyclist, you feel, "Arey yaar, left mein ja rahe hain, ab thoda right mein kar lo." Then take out that time to, you know, work. So the whole idea is, the whole integration aspect has to be there. We need to live fuller lives. Human beings have not been made to do one thing in their life. They have been made to do multiple things. And hence, I would urge everyone to try out new things. Even when youth comes to me, I tell them, try out everything. You want to go and climb a mountain, pick up a hobby, learn some music, and you'll find what you are really good at. And the good part is that now people, from a monetary perspective, are much better than what they were 30 years back, right? Our parents' generation was busy making one flat. हम लोग को तो मिल गया ना वो flat. Now it's about living life. So all time has to be invested in terms of how do you further this life? How do you really make it more joyful? The last thing I want to share is another very interesting research that happened, which is that out of the 100 problems that you think about, or 100% of that time, only 15% of that time that unhoni happens. 85% of the time the unhoni doesn't happen, right? Now, of the 15% of the time the unhoni happens, 90% of the time you have the capability to deal with it. So then what is left is 3%. So जो हमने 100 points का phantom बना रखा है ना life में, actually वो 3 points का phantom. So if we are able to live life with a little bit more wider angle and see things with this perspective, one can lead a much more peaceful life.
That's so much of actually wealth of information and wealth of experience speaking out. With this and moving on to our further section, I just want to take a quick 5 minutes break from the audiences. If there are any questions from you guys, please feel free to put them out. Or Ashin, if you have any questions, Solen, maybe you can just save them for later and we'll have a question and answer round. Towards the end, we can then take them
we
up.
have a few questions popping up, so I think we'll do it in the end.
Sure. Okay, with this, okay, then we'll move on to our next section, which is lesser talk but extremely important in the space of mental health. We are going to cover child psychology. With this, I'll move on to you, Priyanka. I think while we have already touched upon certain warning signs, but I'm still going to ask you this question because I feel that this is really important. How is child stress different than adult stress? And with this, if you can also touch upon adolescent stress, if that is different from child stress too, or are there commonalities?
Right. So I think this is very important to understand that what we see in children and what we see in adolescents is very different. So even as a professional, how I work with a child and how I work with an adolescent would be very different. And then the adults is of course a different game altogether. So maybe I'll start with children. So children, and I'm talking about children up to class 5 maybe or 4, they don't necessarily have that kind of language and vocabulary to express कि आज मुझे बहुत stress हो रहा है. Not necessarily, but in today's day and age, I'm observing that children's vocabulary is growing very quickly. They're able to speak about their emotions also faster. But so important क्या होता है that we observe our children's behavior and understand from that कि stress exist करता है. अब वो क्या behaviors होते हैं? So as we were talking about stress and physiology, very similar to what was being talked about by Dr. Sameer also is टमी एक्स, हेडेक्स, एनर्जी नहीं है, मन नहीं कर रहा, वेरी कॉमनली से सुबह उठा नहीं जा रहा, स्कूल नहीं जाना, देन इट मूव्स इनटू एकेडमिक्स, पढ़ाई नहीं करने का मन है, खेलने का मन नहीं है. सो दीज कैन बी वेरी बिग साइंस ऑफ स्ट्रेस इन चिल्ड्रन. भूख नहीं लग रही है, चिल्ड्रन बिंज ईट कम करते हैं, भूख ना लगना उनके लिए ज्यादा होता है, क्रैंकी होते हैं बहुत ज्यादा, दे वांट टू सिट इन फ्रंट ऑफ द स्क्रीन ऑल द टाइम. बिकॉज जब मैं टीवी के सामने बैठी हूँ या बैठा हूँ तो मैं इतना सोच नहीं रहा हूँ. इट्स जस्ट थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग एंड आई एम जस्ट ऑब्जर्विंग. सो दीज आर फ्यू थिंग्स जो बहुत बड़े वार्निंग साइंस होते हैं कि बच्चा स्ट्रेस में है. They might be coming and talking to you, not in this language कि मुझे stress हो रहा है, but मुझे ये अच्छा नहीं लगा, मुझे ये बुरा लगा. In India, अच्छा and बुरा are the two words जो हम सबसे ज़्यादा common. आपको कैसा लग रहा है अच्छा, आपको कैसा लग रहा है खराब. अब खराब की भी बहुत levels होती हैं, but this for a parent इतना समझना enough है. अगर बुरा लग रहा है मतलब किसी तरह का तनाव है, there is some stress. Then it goes into how do you talk to your child or how do you help the child deal with that stress. So identification markers here रहते हैं. Now if I talk about what are some common reasons of stress in children, one is health issues. If children have health issues, and I see that happening very commonly. बहुत छोटी एज से बच्चों को कोई illness का diagnosis है, that can become a big health issue because it comes in the way of their life. For instance, breathing issues हैं, bronchitis है, pollution वाला problem है, it comes in the way of their child's world, child's life. क्या है बच्चे का life कि मुझे खेलना है, मुझे अपने friends के साथ मस्ती करनी है. Parents are stopping them कि नहीं 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 ज़्यादा मत भागो, अच्छा swimming में डालेंगे तो swimming is good for you and ऊपर मत कूदो. Like there's a lot of handling that happens. Yeah, childhood diabetes is something that is increased. So many of these illnesses can become a big reason of stress. Second, in children, academics. अगर school is an important word. तो school में पढ़ाई का अगर stress है, stress नहीं भी है अगर पढ़ाई का, but there's a lot of focus by parents. पढ़ाई करो, अच्छे marks लेके आओ. That can be a source of stress. पढ़ाई समझ नहीं आ रही है, cope नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, that can be an area of stress. फ्रेंड्स के साथ झगड़ा हो गया, उस फ्रेंड ने मुझसे बात नहीं करी, वो दोनों फ्रेंड्स अब खेलने लग गए, मुझे छोड़ दिया, उसने मेरे साथ अच्छे से बात नहीं की. These are normal stress points that children have. Teachers, how teachers are behaving. अगर कोई टीचर से डर लगता है, कोई टीचर डांटती है, तो उसके भी I don't want to go to school points for children. Another thing that I'm observing these days, I remember this young girl, she was in class 5 and she'd come in for therapy. And I remember very clearly I asked her, open question, what does your day look like? That's my favorite question to ask children. आपका दिन में आप सुबह से रात तक क्या करते हो? And when she started talking about her timetable, I got stressed. Because the number of classes that she had, मैं स्कूल से आती हूँ, फिर मैं स्कूल के बाद लंच करती हूँ, उसके बाद मैं ये वाली ट्यूशन के लिए जाती हूँ, उसके बाद मैं आर्ट क्लास के लिए जाती हूँ, उसके बाद मैं डांस क्लास के लिए जाती हूँ, एंड मंडे वेडनेसडे फ्राइडे को मैं ये वाला हॉबी क्लास जाती हूँ, एंड ट्यूसडे थर्सडे एंड सैटरडे आई वाज लाइक ये कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ ऑलरेडी स्टार्ट हो गई है 5th स्टैंडर्ड में कि वो MWF and TTS whatever that thing that happens वो already है. And I said that, I said, my God, I feel stressed here. And she broke down. She's like, yes, I don't have time. And that's a class 5 kid. That's unfair. So I'm seeing that parents, in their excitement to get their children forward in life, are making their children just too busy. And that's not okay. We have to teach our children to be bored, to just while away time, because that teaches them to be centered, anchored. कि ये भी okay है, because what Rahul said, later on life के लिए जो fullness चाहिए, जो concentration चाहिए ना बैठने की, to be able to meditate, वो वहाँ से आती है. When you allow your child to be bored, and you should do that. So You know, these are some reasons of stress in children. Adolescence में यही same चीजें होती हैं, but more relationship centric. What we are talking about, friendships ज़्यादा prominent हो जाता है, फिर intimate relationships होते हैं, boyfriends, girlfriends, वो होता है. In today's time, children, adolescents are exploring their sexuality, they are exploring their gender, they are learning vocabulary of these kinds. So वो एक अलग dimension है that I see very commonly. Then career. They're thinking about finances. Teenagers are thinking about finances, and they're thinking about their career from class 8, 9 onwards. They want to know which field should I get into so that I am ahead in life. What is more money making? They're talking about these things also. Then social media. Because social media ने accentuate किया है in positive ways of information sharing, but Another thing, पहले हम जब छोटे थे, जो स्कूल की प्रॉब्लम है वो स्कूल तक रहती थी, वो घर नहीं आती थी क्योंकि लैंडलाइन होते थे, जिसका पेरेंट्स के पास कंट्रोल होता था. So my life in school is a separate unit than my life at home. So I have different friends, I have different life, and children were able to play that. Adolescents were able to play that duality. Now everything haunts them everywhere. If I have a certain image in school. कि ये तो बहुत बूंदी लड़की है, whatever, like you know, whatever image they have at school, it carries because it's on social media. Or if I'm a popular child, I'm popular everywhere. So the other classmate wants to be that, because that other classmate is not being popular in tuition also, and that's it. Everyone knows that. Society also, everybody knows that. So that pressure is a lot to live with social media constantly also, and that's a very big stress point, isn't it? These days.
I think the extreme societal pressure and though of course social media can be a boon, but we need to be aware and cognizant of the side effects it brings. I think Priyanka, आपने जैसे पूरा, because these are things which we usually talk about in our day-to-day lives. Of course, parents will understand it better. ये सारी चीजें इतनी छोटी-छोटी बातें हैं जो कई बार बहुत easily ignore हो जाती हैं. And I really like that concept जो आपने बताया, अच्छा versus बुरा. कि वो बुरे की क्या डेफिनेशन है और वो बुरा क्यों बुरा लग रहा है, या फिर जो अच्छा लग रहा है वो क्यों अच्छा लग रहा है, कैसे अच्छा लग रहा है, वो आई थिंक आइडेंटिफाई करना इज द.
I relate to that me time stuff with the children very well, because you know I got a daughter, 2 daughters in fact, and sometimes we leave them कि जो करना है करो, and that's the best comes out of that time basically. Yesterday only my daughter made a small cardboard box, my invention bag. Okay. And she's just 8 years right now. So, and just came out of nothing. She was just playing around, no TV, that's all. And she just picked few stuff around, did some stuff here and there, not so neat. That's fine, but she was like thoroughly enjoying for 2 days this stuff. I really appreciate the way you brought it up.
I think a lot of questions from parents have already been addressed here, but I would just quickly go. There was one thing on what are the common triggers of stress. So we've already touched upon, covered it very nicely. And then, these are 2 questions. How do kids adapt to stress? Do they understand that they are stressed?
Of course. Children understand that they are stressed. Children also understand that their parents are stressed. So, and very early on, even a 2-year-old, 3-year-old child gets when their parents are stressed. Maybe early on, I don't know about that so well. Of course they do. How do children adapt to stress? I think what Rahul said, fun and play. That's what I use in therapy. I play with them. And that is one of the biggest stress buster for children. The more you allow them to play, the more you allow them to be creative, the more you allow them to be open. And हर चीज को कंट्रोल नहीं करना, कंट्रोल्ड प्ले, स्ट्रक्चर्ड प्ले नहीं करना है, फ्री प्ले. Think of yourself as a potter. If a potter tries to make a pot जिसमें वो ज़्यादा pressure लगाता है, the pot falls apart. But there's just right amount of shaping that has to be. और थोड़ा छोड़ देना होता है बच्चों को, थोड़ा कम फोकस करना है, वाइडर एंगल फोकस करना है, बहुत घुसना नहीं होता बच्चों की लाइफ में. ये क्यों खेल रहे हो, इसके साथ क्यों हो, ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हो, ये क्या कर रहे हो, वो क्यों कर रहे हो. अभी ABCD क्यों नहीं पढ़ना आया, इस क्लास तक ये हो जाना चाहिए, उसकी मम्मी ये कर रही है, उसके पेरेंट्स व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स हैं अभी स्कूल्स के, सो पेरेंट्स आर ऑन टॉप ऑफ ईच अदर, उसके पेरेंट्स ने ये टॉय खरीद के दिया मुझे, आई मीन इट्स so much of that, so just let go a little bit and ease out on yourself, ease out on your child also.
And this is something a very classical feature of Indian parents. So I think all of us understand that, and maybe
Yeah. The other thing I really want to children learn from adults around them. आप जैसे स्ट्रेस हैंडल करेंगे बच्चे भी वैसे ही सीखेंगे स्ट्रेस हैंडल करना. So I always tell parents, why don't you stop observing your child and just observe yourself first. How much of time you're spending on any screen in a day? Any screen, phone पे या ऑफिस के काम के लिए लैपटॉप पे, like a lot, most common question I hear is मेरा बच्चा टीवी के सामने बैठा रहता है, फोन की स्क्रीन, I want to reduce screen time. So observe your screen time, you being दोनों parents का combined, मदर का भी फादर का भी, एक हफ्ता का लॉग बना लो, एक्सेल लॉग बना लो, and then see what are you modeling for your child. Are you exercising when you want your adolescent to exercise? If you are, then take your child with you. The child will go, not to exercise but time spent करेंगे, मस्ती के लिए. So whatever you want your child to do and be, you have to embody that. आप रिएक्टिव हो रहे हैं, आपकी चीजें पूरी नहीं हुई हैं, आप स्ट्रेस्ड हैं, पेरेंट्स हैविंग क्रॉनिक फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेस, पेरेंट्स हैविंग क्रॉनिक एनी अदर काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रेस, वो बच्चों को समझ में आता है and they also learn to react in similar ways only. So you have to watch yourself to be able to not lecture, you have to model, and children learn in a similar way.
I think you have mostly covered what parents can do. But there is another thing which I think Dr. Samir and I also had a word about, that apart from parents, what can other adults in the society around children do about stress? If you want to.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I believe that children's lives is it's like the child in the center and there are adults who are contributing to their lives. So to put responsibility solely on parents is unfair, because they are also handling so much. तो पेरेंट्स के बाद का नेक्स्ट सर्कल क्या होता है बच्चों के लिए दूसरे अडल्ट्स का? इट इज टीचर्स, इट इज इफ देयर आर ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, वो एंड पेरेंट्स ऑफ अदर चिल्ड्रन, या एंड स्पेशली देयर फ्रेंड्स एंड योर पेरेंट्स फ्रेंड्स. तो वो जो सर्कल ऑफ अदर अडल्ट्स है, वो किस तरह के मॉडलिंग कर रहे हैं बच्चों के लिए, वो भी इम्पोर्टेंट होता है. तो आई ऑलवेज गिव अ लॉट ऑफ इम्पोर्टेंस टू द कल्चर ऑफ स्कूल. The culture of what teachers are trying to do. Are they noticing every child in the class? Are they paying attention to every child's need? How are they talking to children? What words are coming out of their mouth? Those are very important things. Children are able to deal with stress even if they have good relationship with one teacher in school. And वो शायद क्लास 1 की टीचर होगी, बट वो क्लास 12 तक उस टीचर के साथ जो रिलेशनशिप बिल्ड होता है, उसके बेसिस पे अपनी लाइफ की बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें अचीव कर लेते हैं. The good thing that children have, which adults don't have, is opportunities. बहुत सारी होती हैं, स्कूल में, ट्यूशंस में, क्लासेस में, प्लेग्राउंड में. They have opportunities to shine. So as adults, we have to focus on how do I make my child shine somewhere or the other. So if adults around children focus on helping children be successful in small ways, जैसे invention box बनाया तो उसको appreciate किया बहुत, and the child is shining now. Now the child is feeling proud that I've done something. So these are just amazing ways of helping children.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Ashin has just provided us with a list of questions that our online audiences have also provided. I think with this, I'll just take a pause, because we have covered quite significantly about child psychology, and also you touched upon social media. With this, I just want to move to you, Dr. Lalit. We have one thing in here which says, so social media can be a boon or a bane. We already spoken about it. But what do you feel that how can digital health platforms help people manage their stress better? Is there an opportunity over there, or are they just adding up to what's the role?
So, interesting, very interesting, aspect from social media reflecting upon digital health platform. The only caveat here is the digital health platform should not be another social media, right? So, what I do see as an opportunity over here is, and that's important to understand, for a stress or a mental health issue, two things are required which are contradictory. One is me and my boundary, and second is a support structure, be it society, parental, teachers, or any kind. Within me, if I'm not able to extend or get support from outside, how do I do that? And that's where the digital health platform or digital platform of any kind, I'll separate out health for the sake of this discussion, but digital platforms, wherein there is an open or a closed community, wherein there is a personalization as per my own needs. If I can have a trigger of my own me time, my family time, but the scheduler, the reminders, what happens? We all know the recipe. How do we put that recipe in our life? That's where you need an enabling tool. And that's where the platform is helpful for. It's a tool at the end of the day. You just have to feed in what you need for, what is being advised you for, have it. And it helps you to accommodate to the environment. That's where the digital platform is of utmost importance. You should get right information. Now we are putting across the information, but is it available at single source? That's where the platform comes across. How can I personalize it to my own needs? Because stress, as we see, is a perceived response, and every individual has its own response. Right? Can this platform help me to personalize my needs? Depending on the type of stress, the type of age group, the type of social circle, the type of parental group I have in place. Then also it helps me to carry out my stress busting tasks. Sometimes it's also required to realize, because stress is something we do see. I might not realize at what level of stress I am. That's where the platform comes. Very, very handy. And then people want to be heard, listened, spoken about, but at the same time has to be anonymized. So in this digital media, you can be anonymous at the same time open. You know what I'm trying to say. So that's where the platforms bring information, personalization, resourceful, community, everything all together in the same platform. And I believe that's a very, very strong tool. The only caveat I'll call out again, should not be another social media platform.
Yes. And I think indirectly you have also hinted upon the importance of getting the right kind of information from the right platform through the right experts, because there's a lot of misinformation that is floating around. A lot of people have just emerged as lifestyle moderators or advisors, even youngsters emerging as social media influencers. In that pursuit of happiness and a successful life, the importance of getting the right information from the top level experts is something
so that's where the responsible platform would have the right experts, curated and moderated information, rather than just type anything and get anything.
Yeah. And I think that is extremely, extremely important, that you get the right hints from the right places. Another thing which I really want to take up is, and this is very interesting, one of our users has actually put in these words, that mental illnesses in my area are actually being seen as being crazy or bad. So due to various long-standing perspectives, there's still a lot of stigma around mental health conditions. That said, digital health platforms, Tata1mg, EmoNeeds are providing a platform to people to reach out to mental health experts. But what do you still see that what is preventing people from reaching out to experts?
So, couple of things, stigma we always know. So the moment I speak about I'm stressed, people will make fun of me. Don't tell me. There are gender issues. If I'm the sole learner in my family, I'm the youngest one or the eldest one, and go and tell society about my stress, there are people who make fun of it, right? So that becomes very difficult to get the peer group circle out of it. And platforms like this, good ones, I don't name anything, anybody, but yes, they help them to reach out the right expert. That's the bridge they can create for. But the stigma is something that people carry forward. that could be breached by these platforms. That's the most important aspect, because see, mad, crazy, all those words, and because we are talking about stress, not the illnesses over here. Illnesses has a separate domain altogether. The stress, which is more physiological part of it. Yes, it's important to understand it's normal. It's physiological, as we spoke in the beginning, right? But yes, people want to shy away from spilling out this information, keep it concealed. Okay, use the platform, get access to the right information, get access to the right resource, get access to the right experts, and then explore what is the right way to you get out of it.
And also that, and I'm just thinking out loud that you don't need to physically visit a facility. Of course, you should do it whenever it is extremely important, but that you can be in the comfort of your home and still speak to a consultant, understand where it is important to meet an expert in person is also extremely.
That's exactly the close circle I spoke
Yeah.
about. So once you know, okay, once the preliminary interaction has happened, the further course of action can be derived. It requires in-person interaction, it requires a digital interaction, it requires just reading material, it requires some meditation which can be remotely monitored.
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah, I think these are great insights. With this, I just want to quickly move to some other aspects. In fact, there is one more thing, Dr. Samir. I just want to take your cues on this. Someone has asked, is there any specific testing or scans which I can get for like assessing my mental health? So, do you
So
want?
this is interesting because when we talk about mental health, we talk about the functioning of the brain. There are components of the neurochemicals, the biological bit. Then there is a component of your personality, which shapes over the years. And the third component would be the interaction between the self and the environment. So the biological, the psychological, and the environmental factors, they get together and create certain phenomena. And in order to distinguish or analyze or quantify this phenomena, there is no biological test available because we can't put a needle in the brain, we can't penetrate that area, extract the chemical and do a lab chemical analysis. We can do that with the bloodstream, blood and the brain don't interact in terms of the neurochemicals. It's only related to the neurons. So psychological domain and the environmental domain are on the left, where you try and understand the quality of the interactions and then try to quantify in some way scales. There are certain depression scales, anxiety scales, various rating scales. So absence of a biological test, the person is not able to go to a lab and get an assessment done. They start thinking whether it's really biological or not. And so, like we talked about stigma, so this is another factor why the stigma is still continuing per se when it comes to an individual experience. When HIV was a big stigma in the society, the campaign was "Chune se nahi phailta." So why did they know "Chune se nahi phailta"? Because the virus was separated out. There was an RT-PCR test for the virus, and then it was found that there are certain fluids through which it transmits. So what is that RT-PCR test for the neurochemicals? There is nothing there. So the stigma continues.
Maybe the objectivity around the diagnosis is still something which people.
To the biological part. The objectivity about the personality and psychological part is taken care of by the psychometric tests. So we rely on the clinical psychologist to do a proper assessment and come to some understanding of the psychological and to some extent the biological bit of illness.
Yeah, there are few tests, few psychological tests, but again, it's an interplay of your psychological well-being and your environmental factors. So there are GHQ, General Health Questionnaire, and personality assessment, of course, and then anxiety assessment, and depression scale. There are scales for even psychotic analysis.
Which is in fact, Rahul, I just want to take one thing from you because I have seen that a lot of organizations are these days also taking care of the psychometric analysis of many leadership positions and even in general people from corporates. So is that a practice which is being followed upon in the HR domain as such, or is it just being rooting up? How is it that?
So you're talking about psychometric testing,
Yes,
right?
yes.
The assessment.
or
Yes.
maybe just assessing the mental health aspect of people who are going to
So
join?
what I've seen is generally still this is not the norm.
Okay.
What the norm has been always about using assessments to see whether the person has leadership potential to get into the job or not. Or on the other side, development factors. What are the strengths and development factors? But I think this is a great point. If people can really see, it comes more through 360 feedback. The team started feeling stressed out. As a boss, he or she is toxic. So we hear these things quite often nowadays in terms of a toxic boss. And how do you deal with a toxic boss, right? So there is no structured way in which this data comes in, but generally in good HR, what we have seen is through this 360 feedback, you kind of come to know where there are interpersonal conflicts taking shape, either at the peer group level or with the subordinates, etc. And then kind of one has to deal with it.
Just to add on, in one of my previous organizations, while there was rounds of interviews, I had 6 or 7. There was technical, there was HR, technical round 2, 3, 4. There was one this test also, one this assessment. In fact, it was not psychometric, I would say. It was more of a discussion with the clinical psychologist, right? To understand, because you're getting into a leadership position, you're getting into a director role. So, what is your state of health in terms of your thinking process? Are you able to cope up, because it would require a lot of stress around? What is your some personality bit also? I would segregate the stress and psychological assessment to the personality assessment part of it, because there's leadership styles we talk about.
In fact, what really happens is we have become so cognitive in our head. We know language so well that you can give answer to any question. But when it comes to actually being in that situation, you really don't know how to deal with it.
Yes.
So people in an interview will give such fantastic answers. And yesterday, for example, I was in some pilot interviews where there's a psychologist who sit as a part of the panel to look at if there is a crisis situation that happens in a flight, how does the pilot deal with it? But the point is that cognitively trying to understand something and being able to do it practically are two very separate things. That's the challenge which happens when we have done too much reading. We think we know it, but we don't know it.
So I think I would just, just summing up, if we extend it to all our workplaces in general, it's important to understand, like Dr. Lalit also mentioned, that we may be knowing the recipe, but how to prepare it and use it for our day-to-day purposes in our lives, in our personal, professional and social spaces is what we actually need to learn, and this is what we are going to speak more about.
And I'll add
Yeah.
more. In fact, I'll ask more. So, while we spoke about certain scales which professionals can conduct and can estimate or understand the issues behind, is there something as a self-assessment for which, as a precursor to that, I can look forward to and can understand, okay, should I go to an expert?
This is in fact a question around it, Dr. Lalit. Versus a normal stress.
I would like to answer that nowadays, lots of adolescents are coming. Okay, I'm reading this. मैंने chat GTP खोल के देखा और उसमें ये था, मुझे लग रहा है मुझे ये हो गया है. So that type of, I think, जो ये self assessments भी हैं, even these professional assessments also, it should be done with the professional and it should be twined with interview also, interview with the person. You should spend time with that person to assess really, because जैसे राहुल ने बहुत चीजें फेक भी कर सकते हैं और हम लोग जो टेस्टिंग करते हैं वो completely will rely on your answers. That will be a real assessment, a good assessment. So we should be interview that person. We should spend time with that person for half an hour and so to assess that person, to live with that person.
I just want to add to what Dr. Nija is saying. The good thing of awareness in young people is that now I see a lot of young people coming in because their friends have pushed them that you're looking too stressed. I think you should go and see a therapist. So they are taking information from social media, they're building a language, cognitively becoming, but they're coming to right spaces then. And then it is, of course, on the clinician or on the therapist or the psychiatrist how they then handle it. They do an assessment, they couple it with interviews, they couple it with interviews of families, they couple it with other observations. So somewhere they are getting nudged by awareness of other people also. and that is helpful. That's a good thing. A lot of people come like that. That I got your number from my friend, or my friend's been after my life, my boyfriend's been after my life, my ex-partner has been after my life. Even things like that are happening.
You're having lots of insecurity issues. I think you should go to the therapy.
Yeah. I don't feel good anymore. I used to feel like this 2 years ago. Now it's been 1 year. I don't feel like this. I want to start feeling like that. I'm unable to. I tried ABC. So they're coming in with this awareness, which is great. And they're coming to right spaces.
I was very self-critical. Now
Yeah.
I start loving myself.
Yeah.
I am into therapy for last 2 years, for 1 year.
And they share it with friends also. Now they go and talk about it. You know, my therapist said this, and they will come and talk about it in therapy also. That my friends were saying this. Do you know other good therapists I can send my friends to? So that's also started to happen.
बहुत interesting incident हुआ अभी 2 दिन पहले. So I was sitting with the psychiatrist and a client came and he was in a very excited state. So psychiatrist ने उनको कुछ दवा prescribe किया for that state and उसने ChatGPT open करके okay you're giving me this combination. I think this combination will suit me more. ये सूट नहीं करता है मेरे को. फिर फटाफट what are the antipsychotics? Are you giving me antipsychotics? Nowadays we are becoming so aware. It is good in one way, but it has its own downfall also.
So that being that outspoken is something which we see as a right move in the direction that we are at least being candid and straightforward about our experiences and our struggles, challenges. But maintaining that line that this is something which needs to be taken care by an expert is something I personally feel is very
I
important.
think it is good in one way because we see कि बहुत सारे लोग medication छोड़ देते हैं because of side effects. If you discuss your medication with the doctor, then it's fine. At least you will be continuing. You will be very regular with this medicine. But another way is sometimes it gets very irritating. Doctors know the best.
Yes, yes. That is where Dr. You spoke about personality assessment or those kind of tests. Maybe just to not to take out the misses, or maybe just to figure out on the mental resilience and emotional intelligence part of it. Getting an interpretation done by an expert is the best thing out there, so that you don't misinterpret.
I think net of what if I have to summarize things is, though there are a lot of tools which may not be validated or validated enough, but self-assessment would have certain restrictions for. Always seek an expert if you think you are in a space.
Of course. And Dr. Nija, we have something specific. I'll come back to you because everyone out there want to know about healthy ways to control stress, how to perceive stress in a more positive way. But before that, since you have already touched upon it, someone has also asked that I have read mostly medicines given for mental health concerns or chronic stress are habit forming. So are medicines actually helpful for people with stress? Dr. Sameer, I would want your
So I think this is what classically happens with mental health issues. And today when we started our conversation, we specifically said and we defined stress, and we are trying to differentiate between what stress means and what actually a mental illness means. Stress is not an ailment. Stress is not a pathology. A sustained state of discomfort to the body can ultimately lead to a pathology. So, if a person is being diagnosed with a psychosocial issue and he or she is in an environment where there is a sustained stress, there is actually no medicine. Even in fact, I can take it one step further, and let's say if a person comes to me with mild depression, even then we avoid medicines because the brain and the psyche has the ability to self-heal and step back from it. So the actual intervention, if you want to call it, is therapy. Let's say, like for example, taking example of cognitive behavior therapy, or in an acute crisis, a crisis intervention. So a person having an acute crisis, having a meltdown, going to the emergency would probably benefit from 15 minutes of therapy work done in an acute emergency state rather than an injectable or a tablet.
I think a few of you guys have joined us recently. Any questions this side before moving on to next segment?
Pile the questions.
Okay. So this is here. Okay, okay. There's something specific I'll speak up towards the end. But before that, there's one thing because we are also drawing close to the end of the talk show. I just want to touch upon this aspect. What are some practical, actually doable things that work? Different people have different stress relaxing ways, but any strategies which work for most people out there? Dr. Nija, if you want to cover this.
Yeah, with exercise works for most of the people, of course, and then pet therapy works for especially for few people, especially for adolescent. This is working like anything. You should foster, you should adapt any pet, और अगर नहीं तो आप shelter home में जाके सर्व कर सकते हैं उसको. Pet therapy is coming up very well. Of course, mindfulness nowadays. आज से 3 साल पहले अगर हम किसी को mindfulness practices करने को बोलते थे youngster को, वो नहीं करते थे. वो नहीं, ये नहीं बताओ, कुछ और बताओ, ये नहीं होगा. बैठ के इतना formal practice. I think mindfulness और meditation को हमने mindfulness and meditations काफी 2 different things. हमने mindfulness को meditations के साथ mix कर दिया है. Meditation is a very formal practice when you sit and you concentrate on your breath. And mindfulness is being aware of what you are doing, being aware with full presence, with openness, like a beginner's attitude कि आप वो काम आज ही कर रहे हैं, बिल्कुल नया सीख रहे हैं. So for me, nature walking and nature photography, bird watching is a very good stress buster. And then, of course, meditation, if you can sit formally, there's nothing like this. It brings joy and calmness. Of course, bringing joy and calmness is not the goal. It makes you feel, it makes you better at your feelings. Like, जैसे weightlifting में, it strengthen your emotional muscles so that heavy things becomes light. So उस तरीके से आपको तैयार करती है. Of course, then seeking help or talking to your friend, talking to your loved one. आजकल ये सब चीजें हम छोड़ते जा रहे हैं. एक रिसर्च हुई थी जिसमें था कि 40 minutes of exercise or 40 minutes of gossip with your friends. So 40 minutes of gossip with your friends creates a greater impact than exercise. So जो हम चीज छोड़ते जा रहे हैं. Of course.
And I'm sure gossip means true
Gossip
gossip,
means
not chatting.
When 40 minutes
even
gossip about
chatting
your
also.
boss will be even 10 times better.
I would like to add one more thing. Yeah. Maybe biased because being a parent. So playing with kids.
Playing with kids, yes. Watching a comedy show. I personally like so many videos of like Facebook पे भी बहुत सारे videos बच्चों के आते रहते हैं. So उससे बहुत enjoy मिलता है. मुझे at least मैं
I go back to the board games,
Playing
Ludo,
with
Sapsity
kids,
types
yeah.
even.
playing innocent games that adds into your this thing. And then of course mindfulness, doing anything with mindful. So that brings the joy. Going out, driving out, seeing a neat natural beauty. It is a great stress buster. Swimming, आजकल तो बहुत swimming is a great stress buster. So all these things add into your this thing. Add variety into your life. If you add variety into your life, learning something new, it is a great stress buster. And then volunteering. If you volunteer, it produces oxytocin, which is happiness hormones. So volunteering से क्या होता है कि आप you become larger than yourself. You start helping others. You find a purpose. If you find a purpose, there's nothing like this. Finding a purpose in life, I think everyone should read Viktor Frankl's book here. Man, search for meaning. Search for meaning. If you find if you find purpose in your pain, there's nothing like this. So, purpose, prayer, and doing activities. Digital detox, that is must. You should do 1 day of digital detox, at least for 6 hours of digital detox. Reading a light book, watching a light comedy show, all these things are stressful.
There are so many different things on the spectrum. And in fact, I think in a very light way, you still touched upon a lot of very critical and important things. I'm just reading this very quirky quote on most of the t-shirts, and it's very, I'm very bringing it up very casually. It's cool to be kind, because you touched upon you need to look for and find the purpose in life. That's also something, and there are proven researches around it, that if you're doing something good for other person out there, even for strangers, it gives you joy, it takes away the guilt, it gives you gratitude. So that is also maybe some of the strategies will work for some people and others will work for others. So we need to find what is working in our case.
Yes.
And it's good to see that even experts are trying out these things.
These are the things.
Okay. And Dr. Nija, one thing more, because all of it is mostly like interplay of emotions. And someone has put it there, how to deal with strong and negative emotions that emerge with stressful times.
First of it, there are no negative emotions. There are no negative emotions and no positive emotions. Every emotion has its own value. Anger at the right place, at the right time, at the right amount, to a right person is useful. Otherwise, that person will take you for granted. So there are no positive or negative emotions. Second thing is, it is our natural tendency to avoid any emotion. It has become a default mode to avoid any feeling. Rather than avoiding the feeling, if we become mindful of that feeling, okay, I am feeling stressed. Where in my body, क्या feel कर रहा हूँ मुझे? इस moment में क्या चाहिए मुझे? Do I need a hug? Do I need a reassurance? Do I need a forgiveness? क्या चाहिए मुझे? So if we become aware of our feelings and we nurture it with self-compassion, कोई बात नहीं, I am there with you. मैं तो हूँ ना, it happens. It all belongs. Nobody is enough. So अगर उन moments पे हम अपनी emotions को recognize करते हैं, उनको बहुत curiosity से और compassion से देखते हैं, not with judgmental approach, with curiosity and compassion. So that is the thing. See, you should be aware of your feelings. You should not avoid them, because अगर आप avoid करते रहते हैं for a short period of time, it is helpful. But for a longer period of time, for a longer run, they become worse. They become more intense. तभी हम वो distraction शुरू हो जाती है. Light train में distraction से क्या होगा? You will make your dream small. You will start avoiding, or you will spend your time in mindlessly watching the TV. और अगर हम ज़्यादा बोलें तो eating disorders या substance abuse या फिर sexual promiscuity, all these things happen if we keep avoiding our feelings. So rather than avoiding the feeling, you should feel your feelings, and you should, every emotion has a message that need to be checked upon. क्या चाहिए आपको इन moments में? अगर आप उसको कर लेते हैं तो धीरे धीरे our brain has a healing capacity. Our brain has a system of filing away and then dealing with your emotions in a downtime time. But अगर आप quiet time देंगे अपने आप को, तो आप उन चीज़ों को बड़ी effectively deal कर पाएंगे. You should not avoid any emotion. Let yourself feel and then deal with it.
Thank you so much for that. Rahul, I think I have a special ask from you, so that is why I've come to you a little later. I have a specific question around child, so I just want to take this one before moving on. Priyanka, if you can just take this up. My child has learning disorder. He is now in 6th class, far away from his class level. How can I teach him and create interest in studies and control his anger and frustration?
Well, this has to do with understanding learning disability first. So, learning disability by definition is a challenge that a child is feeling in reading, writing, math domain, and keeping up with the education system which exists in our society. That does not mean that the child has a problem in intellect. या अगर हम उनको नॉन क्लासरूम फॉर्मेट्स में सिखाएंगे तब the child cannot learn. The way our education system is designed some children have difficulty in grasping that, in grasping language in that reading writing format, right? तो उसके और neurological domains होते हैं, visuospatial elements होते हैं, phonological elements होते हैं, जिसके चक्कर में learning disability होता है. Now I will address the frustration part first. Okay, if I am sitting in a classroom, supposing I decide today that I will learn Mandarin as a language, I am going in the class every day and I am expected to respond in a certain way. Everyone in the class is able to pick Mandarin. सब लोग अच्छे से लिख रहे हैं, पढ़ रहे हैं, बात कर रहे हैं, मैं नहीं कर पा रही हूँ. तो मुझे इंस्ट्रक्शन सही समझ नहीं आएंगे, मेरे फ्रेंड्स क्या बातें कर रहे हैं नहीं समझ में आएगा, उनके लिए क्लैपिंग क्यों हो रही है मुझे समझ नहीं आएगा, मुझे अपने रेड मार्क्स दिखेंगे, मुझे जीरोस दिखेंगे एंड मैं कीप अप नहीं कर पाऊंगी कॉन्स्टेंटली. तो क्या मेरा मन करेगा उस क्लास में जाने का? नहीं करेगा. क्या मुझे ये दिख रहा है कि आई एम नॉट डूइंग एज वेल एज अदर्स? ऑफ कोर्स दिख रहा है, क्योंकि बच्चों को दिखता है क्लास में कि कैसा कर रहे हैं वो. क्या वो रेड मार्क्स के चक्कर में मुझे अपने पे गुस्सा आएगा? ऑफ कोर्स आएगा. क्या मुझे ये बोला जाता है तुम तो कितने स्लो हो, तुम तो कितने बुद्धू हो, तुम इतने लेजी इज द वर्ड, लेजी हो, थोड़ा सा मेहनत करो हो जाएगा, पुट इन द हार्ड वर्क हो जाएगा. सो व्हेन दीज आर द थिंग्स दैट आर टोल्ड टू द चाइल्ड, देन of course the child will feel frustrated. हर बच्चे, every child wants to do well, so वो भी तो मेहनत कर रहा है और वो नहीं कर पा रहा है. So that's where parents की empathy comes in. Empathy मतलब मेरे को what Dr. Neerja was saying, the kindness, the art of understanding कि ये frustration उसकी बहुत genuine है, बहुत real है, and pushing maybe is not the right way. So I would want to appreciate this parent कि उन्होंने अपने बच्चे के कोई academic challenge को identify करके assessment I'm assuming किया, because there are formal assessments for LD, and इस diagnosis तक पहुंच गए. अब this diagnosis is a lifelong diagnosis. It's not like depression or anxiety जहाँ पे treatment हो सकता है, because this is a disability means that the child will learn differently. It's a different learner. So what can I do as parents? One is work on your own fear कि मेरा बच्चा फेल हो जाएगा लाइफ में, अब वो कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा. So thankfully in today's world, unlike 20 years ago, there are so many fields where people can blossom. So being able to have that openness that I need to nurture my child in a way कि जरूरी नहीं उसे MBA, engineering, medicine, architecture वाले ही streams में जाना है, जा भी सकता है. Depends on किस टाइप की learning disability है. Mainstream में भी जा सकता है, but also not. My child has options. So if I start feeling okay, then I can start making my child feel okay and less afraid of the world. The second is that learning disability requires creative teaching methods. Those creative teaching methods are, there are professionals called special educators. So, and there are courses called special education courses that parents can do, or hire or basically have a special educator जो आपके बच्चे की learning disability levels के हिसाब से and mechanisms के हिसाब से teaching methodology create करते हैं and they assist. A lot of schools in Delhi NCR have special educators in school also. Thirdly, CBSE, ICSE, state boards, IB boards all provide accommodations in board exams and in classrooms. So parents need to have conversation with teachers and principals to provide those accommodations. For instance, if it is a learning disability in maths, can my child drop maths? Of course. But does that mean मेरा बच्चा maths नहीं करेगा तो life में कुछ नहीं कर सकता है? Not necessarily. Yeah? Can I teach my child functional math? Can I teach my child how to use calculators? Can I help them use technology? Can I teach them concept of maths rather than HCF and LCM? Right? That is more functional, and I teach my child functional math. If my child has trouble in reading, writing, then writing ke liye can I give accommodations of typing? That's accepted in CBSE, ICSE. Can my child drop subjects like history, civics, which require extensive reading, writing? Of course. So there are lots of things. हम environment में change करते हैं. There are lots of things जो हम बच्चे के साथ skill building करते हैं in a different way. And learning disability can be very, very comfortable.
I think some of the other questions we have already covered. Dr. Samir has already touched upon the medicine question. And there's also one thing on media's impact, which Dr. Lalit you have covered, is something specific on workplace. I would want to start with this alongside Rahul. So Rahul, I really want to touch upon meditation and mindfulness practices. Dr. Neja have already spoken about it. But that said, a lot of youngsters, and not just youngsters, I think all of us just refrain from doing meditation because that ability to sit still and be quiet for some time is something is lacking. So we would really want your insights on those. Before that, we can quickly touch upon this thing. What can managers and employers do at work to ease out stress at work? And after this, you can move on to your meditation and mindfulness aspects.
What can managers do to ease out stress? I think walk with a smile when you walk into the floor. One great thing is when a leader walks with a smile, the whole team feels more relaxed. Because boss is in a good mood. So that itself can be as small as that. And I think the other thing is just take out time where the team can meet, have some, kind of events which are going. See, people are not afraid of working hard. But I think it's why do people leave? They are just leaving because of a bad boss. Generally, people are not leaving because of any. If there is a good boss, then even with some less pay, people continue, right? So it is the behavior, the stressful behavior, and generally all toxicity is linked to because there is some stress the person is not. So I think as leaders, if they can manage their own minds better, and they can be a little more, you can walk with a smile, you can take बड़ी चीजों को भी यार कोई बात नहीं, will be able to handle it. You give that reassurance to your people. I think that's the time when you will see a big change in the employee engagement scores.
That's something all of us need.
And bring humor. And bring humor. I have seen the best of the leaders. They'll be in a difficult kind of a situation, but they will use humor in a way that they'll be able to lighten a situation like that. The same conversely, even small things, everybody is getting stressed out. You kind of repel from that person. So bring some humor, that kind of thing.
This is really, really important, and many of us can relate to it. But let us also go a little deeper in the mindfulness and meditation space.
Yeah.
Because I think people who have experienced it, last time I just want to give a reference to what Atika's, our meditation expert, also mentioned. And I still have it with me that while you are meditating, maybe for those 5-10 minutes, just feel that you are nothing, you do nothing, and you want nothing. I'm still having those feelings in me, and whenever I sit, those things have really helped me. So I want to know more, and I really think that all of our audiences will want to know more as to how we can actually practice meditation. Does it actually work?
Yeah. So one thing I want to take it away that I've seen that the best of the people across the world, you look at the best investors in the Silicon Valley, you look at the best of the doctors, you look at the best of the professionals, most of them practice meditation in their own way, right? It is not like it was 20-30 years back where there is something out there, you need to be a little bit this to be able to do it, because they have found that when you are in a peaceful, calm state of mind, you take the best decisions because your intuition is at its best. And when your intuition is at its best, your decision making is at your best. And if your decision making is at your best, you won life. जिंदगी में सही डिसीजन सही टाइम पे ले लिया, राइट? उस समय जब गुस्सा आ रहा था लेकिन उस मेल का जवाब नहीं लिखा, एंड एक दिन के बाद उसको ठंडे दिमाग से देखा, वर्क्स मच बेटर. उस समय जब गुस्सा आ रहा था फोन उठा के गाली नहीं दी. So what I'm trying to say is that the best of the people across the world, the best of the best people are meditators. Second thing which I want to say is meditation is the art of deconcentration. It is not the art of concentration. So when you say concentrate on, the thoughts, concentration makes the mind tensed. And meditation is about relaxing the mind. So concentration is not meditation. Concentration is a result of good meditation. You will always find good meditators. They are very sharp, very focused. Their attention is very, very, to the moment. So So it is the art to be able to let go for some time. We can pick up our job, we can pick up the position, we can become that same person after 10 minutes. But for those 10 minutes, like you said, a beautiful thing, मैं कुछ भी नहीं हूँ, मुझे कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए, और इस समय मुझे 10 मिनट के लिए कुछ नहीं करना. Even with these 3 thoughts, when you sit, the mind starts to settle. The third thing is, while it's difficult to bring the mind in control, we all know that because the mind is always like the monkey. Kind of, I'll just say that don't think about the monkey, it'll keep popping in your head, right? But breath is a great connection between the mind and where you are. So you see the mind becoming, when your mind is agitated, how does the breath move? It's very hot. It's also less incoming but more outgoing, right? When somebody passes away in the family, have you seen the breathing, how it becomes? Suddenly, very heavy breathing is there. अच्छा आप देखिए, even when you are dealing with patients, कभी-कभी how do they breathe? So breath has a great connection. Same way when you are very happy state of mind, when you make your first proposal to your girlfriend or boyfriend, or it's your birthday. Your incoming breath is very deep. Your outgoing breath is also deep. So every emotion in the mind is connected to a breathing pattern. Now, if you need to get the mind in control, just focus on the breath. So if you are able to focus on the breath in the right way, and that is doable, right? Breath you can coordinate in a way. That's why we enjoy walking, swimming, because changes the breathing pattern, right? But with meditation, what happens is it goes deeper also. So meditation is easily practicable. At 10 minutes, 15 minutes on a daily basis when you do, the whole day goes nice. आप कंट्रोल और डिलीट प्रेस करके अपना डे स्टार्ट करते हैं. वो जो पूरा हार्ड डिस्क पे जब लगा होता है ना सारा कचरा, नहीं तो क्या यू आर गोइंग सेम वे, ओ आई सॉ यू yesterday he said this, now I meet you in the same way. No, it doesn't work like that. So you do that. So breath is a great connection to it. So we can learn some breathing techniques through which one can easily bring the mind in the present moment. And the moment the mind is in the present moment, it's best. Intuition is sharp. Decision making is good, and you are successful.
With this, I remember speaking to one of my colleagues earlier. She was like, because most of our mornings are quite in the rush. So, is there a best time to practice meditation, or is it just okay to give it a time when you are actually relaxed or you find some time?
Whenever you get time. I think this whole thing of morning, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, do it at night. Do it in the evening, but do it. Right? This whole thing of I don't have time for 10 minutes, but I'm willing to be stressed out throughout my day. This is like really, kind of, I'm sorry but using this word, actually it's foolishness. If you know that something 10-15 minutes can sort out your day well, because your mind gets in the right rhythm. Then you get in the car, suppose there's a traffic jam, you're not getting restless. Okay, it'll take a little time, map dekha, thoda sa time aur lage. You deal with the situation. But otherwise, you're shouting at the driver, you're shouting at your person. Now, is that better, or 10 minutes taking out time is better? So sleep 10 minutes less. What's the big deal? Right?
So you're being stressed yourself, and then you're giving stress to others around you.
Of course. So intelligent people meditate. And it's easy. Absolutely. And it's easy to meditate.
Okay, with this, I just wanted to request you, and if all of you are also comfortable, and all of us who have joined us online, if you can guide us to meditate, maybe here sitting on our chairs for 5-10 minutes, whatever is actually doable and should be fitting in all of our daily routines. If all of you are also comfortable.
5 minutes, yeah, it will be nice. So just make sure there's quiet in the room. You can all settle down. It's okay. आप लोग भी बैठ जाओ. Okay, so we can, just before that, we can do a 2 minutes practice, and it's very helpful. And it's called Vastrika. So we make a fist with our hands, right? Make a fist. And just see me first, okay? When the hands goes up, you take a deep breath in, and hands come down, you breathe out, okay? It's like this. Right? So you can keep a handkerchief also, just in case there is anything. Yeah. Right. So let's just do this. Keep doing it with your eyes closed. Relax with your eyes closed. Keep your palms on your knees, facing the sky. Smile on your face, even if it's artificial. And feel the flow of energy in your body. Let's do the second round again. Make a light fist. And we start again. In. Nine. 10. Relax. आंखें बंद, हथेलियां घुटनों की ओर, आकाश की ओर, चेहरे पे मुस्कुराहट और शरीर में पैदा हुई ऊर्जा को महसूस करें. फील द फ्लो ऑफ एनर्जी इन योर बॉडी. We do the third and the final round. We do with Josh. Okay, start. And relax. आंखें बंद रखें. There could be some tingling sensation in your hands. That's good, positive vibes. Take your attention to the environment. Let's keep our eyes closed. आंखें बंद रखें. Take your attention to the environment, all the noises, all the sounds that you hear. The click of the camera, sound of people talking. Sound of the AC, or any sounds around you, wherever you are sitting. And just accept those sounds. सभी आवाजों को स्वीकार करें. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Take your attention to your body. Just relax your head, relax your eyes, relax your chest, your hands, Relax your stomach. Relax your legs. Relax your feet. Relax the whole body. This body is a beautiful gift from nature. Just honor this body. Take a deep breath in and breathe out through the mouth. Take another deep breath in and breathe out through the mouth. Become aware of your thoughts. अपने विचारों के प्रति सजग हो जाएं. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, just let them be. जो भी विचार आ रहे हैं उनको आने दें. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out through your nostrils. Become aware of your feelings. Good feelings or bad feelings, just let them be. अपनी भावनाओं के प्रति सजग हो जाएं. कोई असुखद या कोई सुखद भावना, उसको स्वीकार कर लें. Your peace, your joy. Your peace, your joy. Become aware of your feelings again, if there are any. Take a long, deep breath in and breathe out. एक और लंबी गहरी सांस मुस्कुराते हुए अंदर और मुस्कुराते मुस्कुराते शरीर और मन दोनों को ढीला छोड़ दें. Slowly become aware of your thoughts, if there are any. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Become aware of your body. Become aware of your environment. And a deep breath, a breath of happiness. Fill up your lungs. Breathe out. Observe the state of mind right now as compared to what it was 10 minutes back. Slowly and gradually, the smile, let's open our eyes. Good.
Yes.
Meditated for 10 minutes. And all of you were like,
Thank you so much for this experience, Rahul. You're extremely enlightened. With this, Ashin, if we can also have our giveaways bags ready. Dr. Samir, I just want to, if you have any closing remark, because now the talk show is going to a closer, you want to
So
share?
I think one of the takeaways from a psychiatry perspective, I would say that you should understand that stress is very different from a mental illness. And stress is something we deal with in our strive to make ourselves mentally more healthy.
That's amazing. Anything you want to add, Dr. Necha, Priyanka?
So one of the takeaways is that the person should meditate. And of course, they should smile when they enter into their office.
Dr. Lalit, I would also want to request you to please distribute the mementos to all of our experts. With this, guys, we really hope that all of these insights, experiences, and inputs were helpful to all of you, and all of us at least should be able to implement a few of these insights into our day-to-day lives. With this, I would really take this moment to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of you. Thank you so much for being there, for contributing, for this active participation, for putting out so much expertise and richness to this platform from the entire team of Tata1mg. And thank you all of you for joining us today. And I would also like to take a moment to congratulate and thanks the operational and the execution team, Ashin, Jitin, Shruti, Prateek, Dr. Rajiv, and the entire marketing team and design team. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We'll see you in our next episode with a new theme. Thank you so much.
Dr. Swati to
Yes.
be motivating and coming.
excellent.
Thank you so much. Ashin, Dr. Lip, please do the honors.